What is going on, everybody? Hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to the Esports Rewind podcast. Hello, Zane.
Hello, Jakey boy. How you doing?
I am great. How are you doing, my sir?
Yeah, life is good, as always.
Yeah. So if you guys are new to the Esports Rewind podcast, welcome back. If you're not new, what is up, peeps? What is good? If you guys could do us a favor this time around, you want to leave a comment, want to leave a like, we greatly appreciate that. For all of you guys who are new, me and Zan come back here same time every single week and break down the latest and craziest esports, gaming / other news out there as well. So are you ready to jump into it, Zan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go for a ride. All right, Zan, we're going to talk about him time and time again. We have been over the past 6 months to ever since we probably started. That's going to be the likes of FaZe Clan themselves. Now, it's actually an article you had linked to me a while back.
The Controversy Kings.
Yes, the Controversy Kings, a video coming sometime soon. This podcast recorded, it comes out it's going to be very soon.
TM.
Yeah, we pre-record this podcast. Either way, talking about FaZe Clan, though, actually brought up in the New York Times for the possibility of can they be the first billion-dollar esports org? And right away, I was thinking, you know what? This is a perfect podcast segment because I am just curious overall. The open question to you guys in the comment section, but also to you, Zan, is, first of which, in the next 5 to 10 years, can an esports org be worth $1 billion? If so, could it be FaZe Clan? If not, who else could it be? And that was a very confusing question. I'm sure you can answer it, though.
I'm following along. Now, what's very important to make, a very important distinction to make is you're not saying the esports org is in possession of $1 billion worth of assets,
yes,
right?
Yes, it's a very strong clarification.
Yeah.
Valuation-wise, is worth for all audio listeners. I'm
heavy air
my
quotes.
hands in the air. Heavy air quotes. That's a better way to put it. Worth. As of right now, I think it's TSM and Liquid that are, or TSM and Cloud9, one of the combinations that's worth $400 million, and then the other one being Cloud9 worth over $300 million. Still heavy air quotes on that. So sometime in the future, 5 to 10 years from now, can an esports organization be worth $1 billion, and could it be FaZe?
Absolutely. To the first question, I would be shocked if within the next decade we don't have an esports org valued at over $1 billion. There are too many multimillionaires and billionaires involved in the esports industry overall for it not to reach that point where it's getting inflated, if nothing else, right? Can FaZe Clan do it? That's where it gets a little touchy, because as much as FaZe Clan makes a lot of really smart moves where they are going personality for it first in a lot of ways, as opposed to being focused on, we got to win tournaments to make our money, right? That's great, but at the same time, it's kind of a double-edged sword because the personality is causing them so many issues where, like, Banks just got banned from all these hotels.
I mean, it's a very good way to put it. You know, when it comes time for making the moves to actually get that kind of valuation, and of course, in the midst of the next decade, we'll probably have that esports bubble that people keep on talking about. And I think it's a great way to put it because we have the 100 Thieves, we have especially the FaZe Clan. They made such a huge jump from last year, not even being on the top valuation org list, to now being worth supposedly $250 million. They made one of the biggest jumps of anyone out there, and that's because they have personalities, they have impressions, they have views, but all of that not being based around a lot of their competitive players, which is their personalities and their non-competitive players can cause a lot of issues, that being the guys like Banks or the hiring of High Sky and the Tfue and Cloaksy controversies in themselves. I think more so importantly, yes, they're involved in a lot of news, and that impression, that viewership is worth a lot of money, and it will continue to be so as it scales up. But I think my main point is, yes, I really do think FaZe Clan is one of those top competitors to actually being the first to reach that org valuation. I think Cloud9 and Liquid, rightfully so. When it comes time, though, to actually avoid bad press, because at some point or another, when you're worth 500 million, 600 million, approaching $1 billion, and you have really bad press about you, that does hurt your valuations. As of right now, we've not really seen that too much, but I think especially as esports becomes more prolific and more actually, on the front page of things, I think people will take that very seriously. And an organization like FaZe Clan, they take the risks on personalities, and that risk has a reward, but also a backside. Like you said, a double-edged sword. And so that's where I'm like, can they avoid that long enough?
You always got to take into account, though, every industry needs their Kardashians. There's always going to be
that's a better title. FaZe Clan are the Kardashians of esports. We should really switch it up right now.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, there's always going to be people who are causing problems, who are always in the news for doing XYZ bad thing that people disagree with. But, as long as they're not doing anything actually crazy, as long as they're not, like, hurting anybody, or they're not, like stealing money from people or anything like that, or they're not dropping like hard R's all over the place.
As long as it's like subtle controversies, right? Enough to get out there, but not to hurt. And that's what they've done so far. Alongside that, I mean, we really can't argue. I would say in terms of front runners, they're probably my number one right now. I know maybe it's crazy to some people out there, but just the partnerships they have made, they've taken on a lot of investment.
They make moves.
They've taken on a lot of investment. So obviously down the line, we'll see where that goes, how that affects things a little bit. But if you partner with a gigantic football club, I believe it's Man United, but it might be the other one.
I'm pretty sure it's Man United.
Alongside that, people like Offset, you partner with such genius partners out there alongside all of their merch drops. They are obviously pushing so many impressions, and they're certainly going in the right direction. I think we can both agree it comes down to, can you avoid the big bad controversies?
Of course.
And if they can, like you said, again, they're making the gigantic steps forward. And at least to me, FaZe Clan could be one of the first esports orgs to be worth $1 billion. Oh, no, I saw you pull out the controller. Freaking, oh, man.
Jake has been dreading this moment for the past, 3 months.
No, for about the past, 7 minutes. For users aware, this next segment's about freaking Stadia, because it's now out, and Zan got his controller and stuff, and he's going to brag about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, only a little bit.
Let's do the viewers a bit of a favor here, guys. If you want to skip forward, do, but I don't think you want to. I think you're going to want to hear this, a little bit of a debate back and forth between the two of us. Now that Stadia has been released, Zan, let's give a quick TLDR like you wanted to of what Stadia is, because it is becoming a gigantic thing.
It is probably one of the most controversial things in gaming at the moment.
And if not Stadia, the idea of it. The idea of it is the future.
The mere concept.
So what is it?
Yeah, so Stadia is a gaming platform, not a console. I'd say it's closer to a platform or a service, where instead of having a console in your home or a gaming rig, you go to Google Stadia website from Google Chrome, or you access it through a Chromecast or through a Google phone, and you can just play whatever game you want to that's available on the service, on the go, anywhere where you have a decent internet connection. So say I'm playing Destiny 2 on my TV, I can just close that real quick, hop over to my computer, boot it up there. When I tried it out last night, it took about 60 seconds to switch.
Is that pretty fast compared?
Compared to how long it would take me to boot up Destiny 2 on my PS4, open it, get into the game, close it, open it up on my PC through Steam, that's at least 10 minutes probably.
We'll leave it up for debate.
Yeah.
We'll say it's fast, but again, we'll see.
It's fast. But anyway, it's perfect for anybody who wants to play games at the highest possible quality without investing in a console or a gaming rig, which saves you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, right?
And for sure. Keep on going. Sorry, I'll stay back.
The main concern that people have is obviously it's a video game streaming over the internet. You don't have the game at your house whatsoever on anything available to you. You're just accessing it from another service, right?
Yep.
And people are like, hey, will that even work? And I'm here to say it works great. I have potato internet. I only get about maybe 35 down on my Wi-Fi on a good day, and plays flawlessly. You could tell if I put my console version of Destiny 2 right next to the Stadia version, I wouldn't barely be able to tell a difference. The only difference I really am able to detect is that the Stadia version is running at 60 FPS consistently.
Compared to
the console Destiny's at 30.
Okay, so you would say you've seen improvement at least within the Destiny 2 side of things?
Yeah, and I played a little bit of Samurai Showdown, the fighting game available, and I'm not a Sam Show player, so I'm not super familiar with the frame data there, but everything felt really, really on point. If there is lag in Stadia, from my experience personally, it's imperceptible. And I've spent hundreds of hours in Destiny. I'm able to tell
which is important because we've seen a lot of complaints about this already, whether they have the basis or the grounds for those complaints. I mean, because this is a very controversial thing.
Right.
We've seen a lot of channels out there that I'll admit, that like to complain about things with maybe very little backing to them. And so what else have you noticed so far with the release?
There's been a lot of problems on release. A lot of people have had issues. People aren't getting their codes to access the service. People's Stadias have really weird delivery dates. Some people will order the day of, and their console or their controller rather won't arrive until end of November, early December. Thankfully, our video guy Pete and I, we ordered literally the moment the link was live, so we got it the first day it was available.
Yeah.
But outside of that, my main concerns so far from my experience, because everything has been great on my end. The controller is phenomenal. I feel like it's got a really good heft to it. I like to think of it as like midway between a PS4 controller and the Xbox Elite controller in terms of comfort and usability. It's very, I mean, if you want to.
And in terms of like, so briefly explain as well. Sorry if I leave sweat prints. I get a little nervous during the podcast. But with that as well, what is it compatible with in terms of what if I don't want to use a Stadia controller?
You can use any controller, any keyboard and mouse, as long as
So if I have an Xbox/PS4/ mouse and keys, I can use whatever I want?
Yep, basically. Unless you're playing through Chromecast, because I mean, there's no way to plug into a Chromecast.
And so obviously, I think there's a big differentiation. We'll keep everyone posted because there are so many different. This will be the future. This will have so many ties to whether it's YouTube or Twitch or other streaming platforms. There will be ways this blends in. We've talked about xCloud, which is a competitor of this, and I'm sure, as in competition, usually they both get better with it. Because I think we talked about the initial game offerings with Stadia. It was not the best.
Yeah, it's a little weak,
but only getting better.
But it works, and that's all we needed right now.
And I think especially now, this is not a lot of people out there, but I think especially for people who don't want to invest into a PC or a console, it's a great offering. And so if they can offer more benefits for those PC users who already are invested into a PC or console, that defeats a lot of the arguments. Obviously, initial steps. I think the company overall promised a lot. Google promised a lot. I didn't mean to speak about Microsoft, but
they promised a lot. But I think they did it. They promised a reasonable amount for this first initial. I like to think of it as like kind of like an early access launch, because this isn't available to the general public yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like only if you purchased it, but it's going to be free in about a year, and a lot of the features are there currently. I mean, the important one is there. You can play the games.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, it's Google. It's only going to get better, and if it doesn't, then it's going to be gone, and Microsoft's there with xCloud. I think my ultimate point is I'm a doubter. I gotta be the opposite guy here.
Right.
But at the very end of the day, the two titans in this new platform, whatever you want to call it,
the streaming, the console streaming.
It's Google and Microsoft.
Games,
it's only going to get better.
Amazon just announced today that they're launching their own video game streaming service in 2020.
We're noticing a real big trend here with these three titans out there. Like
PlayStation already has their game streaming service available.
Okay,
with a million users.
Great. It's just gonna be over. It's just too much, too fast. Anyway, Stadia. I would say debatable reviews it now, but it's getting better. And Zan will keep you posted in the future about any updates.
I should tell you, I was so close to getting a shirt that just says Zan was right. Jesus about Stadia on it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Hey, as so far as my experience is concerned, hell yeah, I was right.
All right, Xana, for this next one is about another topic that starts with an F, not quite FaZe Clan, this being a Fortnite.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about this by the time this podcast goes live about a week ago, and I love bouncing thoughts of you on this podcast, and I think people generally can agree with a lot of your opinions. Sometimes you make some brash ones, but I
can't always be reasonable.
Let's bounce this off you. So there's a bit of a rumor going around called the Fortnite Agegate. There's not too much backing to it, but a couple Intel channels did talk about this. And so it kind of corresponds with the same timing of the COPPA. That's the Child Protection Act that's in place now on YouTube, which kind of regulates the advertisements placed towards kids, as well as I think videos placed towards kids that are 13 and under.
Yep.
And so within the same 2 weeks of that happening, now we have these rumors popping up about Fortnite. And I don't think there's any real backing to it, but let me get your thoughts on this. The initial rumor talks about how apparently players, there's going to be an age verification process through Fortnite, and players who are not 13 years old, it was this bold. Sources out there were saying that your account would be deleted. First thoughts off that, how skeptical are you of it? Are you a believer?
There is no way that's happening.
And that's
like literally not.
And that's why I get confused why these kind of things start spurring around. I tried to warn people and say this is likely very much not true. Epic Games loves their lawsuits, and there's no way they're going to all of a sudden have hundreds of millions of dollars of skins on tens of millions of accounts just go gone.
Yeah, you can't do that. Like,
that's
not viable
at
all.
I'm trying to present a theory. I don't know if you can think of one off the top of your head, but I'm trying to present other theories out there of why this might be a thing, but not really going to affect Fortnite in any meaningful way. My two theories were this. You can maybe attest with one of mine or go off on one of your own. I'll try and give you hopefully a minute or two to get one. But the first thing I have is this age verification process can be bypassed through parental consent. Or other means. We talked about how in China they really were restricting gameplay for minors, but there were so many workarounds.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people just sharing accounts or just having somebody log in for them.
What's to say Fortnite doesn't have an age verification process where you can enter any date on the wheel?
See, That would be fine, but at the same time, they can't like just. That'd be easy to get around, of course. If they add any kind of age verification, people are going to find a way around
Steam
it.
has the same thing for viewing some pages. You know,
Yeah,
if you go to a game
definitely.
that's rated M, you can enter any date.
Right?
I can go back to 1964, and they're like, okay.
There's no way they're going to retroactively say, oh, yeah, you know, you say that your account is, you say you're 10. Yeah, under these new rules, you can't play Fortnite. Yeah, they're not going to.
It does have apparently some of these strings that were leaked as well. There's an age verification check failed, and so no one knows what happens if you're not 13, right?
Well, it's probably the same thing that happens anywhere else. It says, oops, sorry, can't play.
Re-enter new data.
No, yeah, exactly, right? Like, oh, did you mean to say 13? Like, can you count the dates properly?
It's like, are you sure you're not 13? You really want to be.
Yeah, right.
Until you get it right.
It might be a great idea.
If you want to play, maybe scroll the wheel back.
Yeah, go to this date.
Like it has all the right dates in green.
Yeah. Everything below that is red, like bright red. Like you can't even see the date. It's just like red spots.
Just smudges.
Yeah.
Don't click this. And my second theory was actually an age verification for their competitive scene. So maybe separating accounts that want to compete in Cash Cups or other competitive tournaments. They're like, hey, we need to verify that you were 13 because, by the way, shout out to High Sky, he was competing illegally when he was 11 and 12 years old, and we gave him prize pools when we weren't supposed to. That is my theory that I'm leaning towards, but even then, I guess the third theory is just fake. You know?
I don't know how viable even that is, because even if they implement that for specifically like situation like High Skies, people are going to get around that. And so to actually verify from like a legal perspective or like to protect themselves, if that was their aim here, they would have to like get an actual human being looking at documents to verify that, oh, this person is indeed older than 13 years old.
It's extremely tough. So let's give you three options, man. You choose from the three.
Right,
it's fake.
Yeah.
It's for competition, or it's a thing that's going to be happening, but you can easily bypass it.
I think it's most likely that they were testing this. If anything, they'll put in like a super light check. And you know what? Actually, it might be because of this. So Epic is using their own launcher for mobile. I think we talked about it very briefly for Fortnite and.
I didn't know this actually.
Yeah. So for Fortnite on your phone, you can't get it from the Google Play Store. You have to download Epic Games' unique launcher.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So what they might be doing is implementing some kind of system just to protect themselves from that aspect. Now that they're running that storefront as well as their other Epic Games launcher storefront, it might be a legal thing to just add like another layer of, hey, you are signing off that you are indeed 13, therefore we can't be held liable if something happens.
Yeah, that could be another thing as well. Either way, mystery continues. We'll keep you guys posted. There's several theories out there. I would actually lean towards fake right now, if not for competitive, but obviously you guys can also leave your thoughts down below. Fortnite, 13 years and older, I don't think it's happening.
Okay, this might be brief because it is more or less me just checking in with the Chinese streaming scene, and I wanted to get your opinion on a couple of very unique avenues that they're following.
Huya and Do You?
Yeah, and Do You.
Love those guys.
Number 1 and 2 in the Chinese streaming scene.
For a lot of people that don't know, yes.
Yeah. Do You is essentially where Twitch is at, and Huya is probably like. They're like a little bit higher than where YouTube is at streaming wise. They're pretty neck and neck.
Oh, Do You is number 1?
Yeah, Do You is number 1.
Interesting.
Currently. Yeah, but it's very minuscule. And interestingly enough, while we're talking about it, Huya actually makes more money than Do You, even though they're number 2 in terms of like viewer.
Do they have more exclusivity with leagues and such? Just make more money?
No, apparently they just have higher engagement, like by order of magnitude. Like the average person who spends money on Huya spends about $30.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is, this doesn't happen very often. But anyway, the important parts here that I wanted to touch on is a certain aspects I think the Western streaming market could adapt. For example, Huya apparently has decided to focus on mobile users and mobile esports.
Wow. Huya has?
Yeah.
That's probably pretty smart. I think we talked about this because in my briefs, I know it's going to be tough to keep it brief because this is just the streaming wars is so entertaining to me.
Right, of course.
I think it's very smart to actually focus on mobile, especially where they're at in China. Makes perfect sense from that sense. Along with all that, we have all these signings going on. And I told you about this. I do believe that a lot of big money can enter the scene still and compete possibly with Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer. But with all these signings out there, these streamers are now held under contract and even bigger buyouts, which is my worry. And so when you say that for Huya, I find that to be genius. They stay in their current market for now. They can expand later when maybe those contracts expire, and they focus on the biggest market right now in China, which is mobile.
You know what's also interesting, though? Apparently, Huya has an overseas branch called Nemo TV.
What do you mean by overseas? Here?
Yeah, here and in Latin America. Nemo spelled not like the fish.
Nemo. Oh,
yeah, not like the fish. Nimo TV. And surprisingly, they've passed YouTube in hours streamed for mobile gaming.
In hours streamed for mobile gaming. Okay, you sound like a freaking misleading Kotaku article.
Yeah.
Let's label that. All right.
Yeah,
hours streamed for YouTube
for mobile games
for YouTube.
Yeah, they've outpaced YouTube.
To me, that's not very impressive.
It is not,
because no one's streaming mobile from YouTube.
Exactly, but the market's there, and apparently the viewership is like loving that. They're eating. Well,
the market's there for streaming. Is the viewership there? Are the viewing hours also?
The viewing hours. They're not like, obviously, they're whoa. English is hard. Anyway, yeah, the numbers. The numbers. Can you really?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's fun when you mess up sometimes.
I thought you said you can do it fine.
No.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, we don't have exact viewership numbers, but we do know that in terms of streamers, people are going there, and the viewership isn't bad at the very least.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like Mixer, because Mixer has more streaming hours than YouTube, but way less viewing hours, which is important. But hey.
But Huya is actually making good money. So I mean.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wait, Mixer's not?
Well, on that same note, in terms of what Mixer is doing, and we were just talking about exclusivity for streamers, apparently DouYu has a practice of specifically to mitigate one of their top streamers getting poached. They apparently have something called a talent development system, where they work closely with second and third tier streamers over there, specifically for the purpose of, say, their number one guy gets poached, they have another person waiting in the wings. They can just slot right in and be like, "Hey, you're the new face of DouYu." Wow,
no pressure.
No, yeah.
That's a very interesting. Yeah, right. That might be the same thing that you maybe see other platforms integrate, but behind closed doors.
Yeah,
clearly.
Very much not openly. But
that's very interesting to have that in place.
Yeah, this is their practice. This is what they do.
Yeah.
This is the policy.
And along with that as well, I do really feel, especially with the viewership over there, and especially in the mobile market, they have so many opportunities. It's just about how they go about it and how much time it takes to get there. Yeah. We also know Huya. Dude, it's just confusing.
Yeah, there's too many things named close to each other.
They're pretty big investors into ESL. I do believe when it comes to Chinese exclusivity, ESL events are typically on Huya, from what I heard. So that's also a gigantic thing going for them.
Yeah, they put 30 million.
Yeah, 30
ESL.
million shares. Yeah. And so it really will come down to when they do expand to this side of things, how they do it, because. Crossover, man. If crossover from Twitch to Mixer is that bad for Shroud and Ninja, imagine what it would be for Huya. So
apparently it's a little better, actually.
I don't know. I'm with you for a little bit here, man, but I don't know.
Numbers are, obviously, if you haven't heard us talk about Chinese viewership numbers before, they're sketchy.
True.
They're sketchy. But
there's a lot of them.
But I was just reading about this guy named, what's his name? Did I still include that? Anyway, the number one Arena of Valor player actually moved from DouYu to Huya, I believe.
Yeah.
And he managed to keep a really good part of his viewership, way larger than Shroud, if the numbers are to be believed.
And people are definitely going to be like, well, obviously you changed Chinese streaming platforms to a different Chinese streaming platform. Well, no. I mean, you look at Twitch to Mixer, the fall off has been 70% of your viewership. So that is very impressive.
The numbers I saw say he brought over 7 million subscribers, and he kept over 60% of his consistent viewer base.
But my worry is if we had seen Ninja go from Twitch to Huya, the crossover would have been nil, even though Mixer's been pretty bad. That's what I get worried when you go to cross-regional. Huya is a Chinese streaming platform.
Of course. I don't think at this point they could just poach somebody like that. But once they're over here, maybe. I think, or maybe
this war is waging, man.
They may not even want to. They might just say, "Hey, Twitch, YouTube, y'all do your thing. We're just going to take the whole mobile market."
Yeah, all of China, all of mobile, and that's probably all you need.
Even over here, they could probably take our mobile market, because YouTube and Twitch for streaming mobile stuff is not great.
Yeah, and I mean, and you don't even need to God dang. Who ya and do you?
And Nemo TV.
And said no one ever. All right, Zan, had a video about this, man, and I think I mistitled it.
All right.
But it still did pretty well.
Not enough exclamation points?
No. And I didn't capitalize every other letter. I didn't capitalize.
See,
I'm an idiot.
It's YouTube. You got to capitalize every other word.
Yes.
Throw in like a random
$sign.
point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freaking A, man. We're talking about Luminosity Gaming. And speaking of dollar signs, I'm probably going to get angry here, man. And so we now know how much Luminosity Gaming makes. And I keep looking down because I don't want to get any stats wrong.
A lot of money.
How much do they make? Well, it's not near as much as you probably think, especially when compared to the upper orgs out there. But we now do know that Luminosity Gaming, at least in some years, were profitable. And it's very curious because I'm actually not going to go towards the amount they make. I'm going to go towards a bit of a worry for their future. So we look back, they're 2 profitable years, Zan. And I know I kind of just spit information at you and expect it to stick. But for 2016 and 2018, they were profitable. In 2016, they made under $1 million, right around $850K. Pretty good chunk of change, right?
Yeah.
For a pretty
still respectable.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian org. It's one of the more well-known ones. But in terms of esports organizations, they're pretty small. I'd say mid-tier in terms of size compared to.
I'd say that's probably about right. Yeah, I'd say they're like a tier 2 org.
And so to profit nearly $1 million, that's pretty impressive. 2018, it drops down to under $200,000. They lost money in 2017, not too much, but overall for a year of work, they lost money. And so what worries me, especially when you look towards their streams of revenue, they're bringing in right around $3 to $4 million a year. And what worries me as well, when you look back to the years they were profitable, 2016, they had the best Brazilian CSGO lineup in the entire world.
Right.
It made for great sponsorships because Brazil is crazy loyal, and they brought in nearly $1 million just in sponsorships alone that year. Later on that year, they sold the CSGO roster for another $1 million, and that led to why they made nearly $1 million in 2016. Ever since then, they have now, in 2019, this year, left CSGO. They've now kind of shifted their niche towards Fortnite streaming. As we all know, Fortnite's kind of I wouldn't say a dying game, but a declining game. And they found their niche because they signed some very good World Cup players and some very good Fortnite streamers. Although this is for the year of 2018, so World Cup was not around then. Their Fortnite streamers, I would say, was a very lucky niche, and their revenue plummeted to under 200K. The meat of this argument I'm trying to make here is this. This is an organization who's bringing in now less than $4 million per year, and just last year brought in less than $200,000 in profit.
Right.
That was without investing into a franchise league. And so now we look towards 2019, where Luminosity Gaming, during their merger with Enthusiast Gaming, has now dropped $25+ million. An organization who made less than $200K last year has just now invested $25 million into an unknown Call of Duty franchise league. Yes, they merged, so it's not all their cash. It's actually probably none of it. But is it not insane to you to think that a company saw this financial record and they thought, LG, less than 200K 2018, 25 million spent 2019. We'll make it back.
I think companies are looking at the way that things panned out with the League of Legends franchise league, where if you look at the prices for LCS spots like 2 or 3 years ago, it was in that 10 million range.
Okay.
And now we're seeing them go up to easily like into the 30s,
Very strong fireback, Sam.
Yeah.
Very strong fireback, and I appreciate you for that because I honestly didn't expect you to come up with that. But I look towards a team who, by the way, in terms of sponsorships, the fall off ever since 2016. 2016 was a great year for sponsors.
Yeah,
nearly $1 million in sponsors. Now they're making less than $200,000 in sponsors. So they're making less year in, year out. They dropped $25 million, but we know the viewership of Call of Duty.
Right.
And the baseline for Call of Duty in viewership is probably around, this could be far-fetched, but maybe 10% of what League of Legends is. And the base price, the starting price for League of Legends was $10 million. Call of Duty's entry point is $25 million. So to say that it's going to be worth $75 million, the league spots went from $10 million. Echo Fox just sold their spot for $30 million. To say that Call of Duty with this viewership will triple the amount of $25 million buy-in prices in franchise spots to $75 million?
I think honestly,
how do you look at this?
Companies are probably banking on the fact that, it worked out kind of similarly. So worst case, we sell our spot in the league for like a little bit more than we bought it for. Like let's be conservative, right? And say they sell their spot.
It's pissing me off thinking about it.
They buy the spot at 25 mil, right? And they sell it at 35. Then they're probably still like, all right, well, there's a little bit of money
After
down the drain.
taxes,
Yeah.
maybe break even.
Yeah, it's like, it's not great, but at the same time, I'm sure a lot of companies will see it as a worthwhile business adventure.
Do these companies' owners, did they play Call of Duty as a kid and just have a dream to just waste money in the game?
I mean, we know that's kind of how a lot of esports scenes kind of start in weird ways.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Wang Sakong from Invictus Gaming, he's never going to run out of money. So if he loves video games, he can dump it. Enthusiast Gaming, I'm not sure if they're ran by Wang Sakong. I doubt it. I doubt they're ran by a billionaire.
But there's plenty of people who are multimillionaires who just have a huge passion for gaming and probably grew up on Call of Duty.
It just really baffles me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is kind of insane. I definitely agree, because there's nothing that says that Call of Duty is worth this amount of money, especially after the kind of mixed reaction that Modern Warfare has been getting in the past couple of weeks.
Let alone the franchise. Look at the game. It changes every year. We could have a terrible game this year, let alone next.
Yeah, it's a risky proposition no matter how you look at it. But I mean, how many other franchise leagues are popping up? Probably not a ton left, because we might have a Rocket League.
Well.
Yeah.
I don't mean to correct you, but it is probably a pretty popular thing. But to your point, they're so much cheaper. Rocket League will be way cheaper. Crossfire,
absolutely.
1.5 million.
At the same time, they don't have that brand recognition that Call of Duty has.
But they do have probably close to the same viewership, which leads to brand recognition.
Viewership-wise, yeah, of course.
Maybe not the player base. I'll give you that.
It's very possible that they're aiming for a specific audience, right? Because Rocket League is probably, I don't know, let's say that 12 to 24 demo, right? Where Call of Duty probably skews a little bit older and skews into the part of the market that's more willing to spend money, because they have more money to spend, because they're working, they're already in the middle of their careers.
Yeah.
Their target could be those groups of people.
Yeah, I do think it's very interesting. I would love so much to sit down with one of the investors or one of the big companies out there who chose Call of Duty League, and I would love to pick their mind on their reasonings,
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I wouldn't even want to pick them apart. I just want to hear their side of things. One last point to your point as well. Rocket League would be way cheaper, but maybe not the same brand recognition. Right. Crossfire the same way. We had another one slip up here as well. CSGO could be having one, which is way cheaper. They got great brand recognition, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, but at the same time, CSGO is not Call of Duty. CSGO,
the way you argue Call of Duty like it's some kind of god tier game. It is great.
Yeah, I don't like Call of Duty right now. I'm not playing Modern Warfare. I respect CSGO a lot, but if I walked into my house right now and I talked to my grandmother and I was like, "Have you heard of CSGO?" She'd be like, "What did you say?" Or if I said, "Have you heard of Call of Duty?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's the video game." That's the video game
sales, brand recognition, game sales. Most of these sales, they're not going back to LG. They're going back to Activision and those boys.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that your grandma's not buying a Call of Duty shirt for the LA Optic or the LA Gorillas.
Yeah, you're certainly not wrong. But the point is always going to be it's just CSGO is big for esports people. Call of Duty has wider reach outside of that demographic, I feel.
And we're going to find out, Zan, if that reach is worth 25+ million.
All right, Jake. So I'm going to throw a curveball your way.
Oh, no. I don't know if I have the energy for a curve.
Well, no, it's not. Well, I was going to say it's not that crazy, but it's pretty crazy. And you're going to know what I'm talking about as soon as I say the name. NetEase. We're talking about the future of gaming right here. The future of gaming is in pig farming.
Are you really bringing pork into this?
Yeah, I'm bringing pork into this. Pork is big in esports now. Have you not talked to Censor?
Did you not? Oh, frick me. I didn't realize you were going to do this. Did you? By the way, I deleted this video. So this is just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not popping.
It
wasn't popping, so now it's for you and me to talk about.
Yeah.
So tell me about the piggies, man.
Okay, so NetEase is a huge company in China, one of the biggest game companies over there, one of the few companies I'd say is probably able to stand close to shoulder with Tencent in terms of how much money and how much power they have over their specific niche of the industry.
To be fair, I wouldn't say they're anywhere close, but of anyone else, they are the closest.
No, yeah.
They're known as the second largest Chinese gaming company, huge in mobile, just titles on titles.
Just killing the game, right? They also
truly killing it.
Yeah,
they're killing a lot of things.
Yeah, and they own the Shanghai Dragons and all that, right? But
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
That would have been nice to know for my video. Frick me.
Oh, yeah. You should have asked. You should have run it back and be like, "Hey, do they have any connects?" That would have made the video
a lot better, dude. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, but anyway. So earlier this week, they kind of revealed the next level of their low-key side hustle, where they're opening up their 4th pig farm. This one hosting over 100,000 pigs.
It will grow to that size. That is.
Yeah, and
It's a lot of meat.
Let me run that back real quick for anybody who thought I said first. This is their fourth. Number 4. This is their 4th pig farm for this gaming company. They're just chilling over here like, yeah, you know, we like apparently the CEO just really likes raising pigs.
It's the founder. And it's literally a side hobby to make a lot of money. They even had, I talked about this as well. I don't mean to steal thunder at all.
No, you're good.
I just think it's a very curious story that no one's really ever going to catch on to or talk about too often. So I want to get my words out.
Yeah, shoot.
They had a round of funding for this.
Yeah.
And they raised over $22 million in funding. That's more than what COD teams could raise to even pay for the league spots.
Right. That's like the kind of funding that 100 Thieves got in their like series. Like,
and it's likely other Chinese gaming tied people. Like it's probably other titans in the scene, but they're probably somewhat tied to gaming as well. They're raising $22 million for other pig farms. Like this dude is taking over. We talked about real estate in China. These real estate moguls who are also in esports, and now we got pig moguls.
No, yeah, this dude, the CEO, apparently just rolls up to like, you know, CEOs and everybody. They talk, they have dinner together. He just rolls up to like an industry bigwigs meal with a bunch of his pigs like already prepared.
Are you for real?
Yeah, for real. He just rolls in and is like, yo I got dinner.
Oh my God, that's freaking great.
It's wild. Yeah, this whole thing is insane. Because I mean, it's not like he's just rolling up with like a little dinky farm or anything. He goes
100,000 pigs a pop.
He goes hard. Like these farms, his first farm apparently has a bamboo forest, a tea garden, a hog house with artificial intelligence tech, full Wi-Fi coverage, and the pigs at the farm also have their own music albums to listen to. Not only that, but they also learn how to use the toilets and clean themselves.
What the frick are pigs doing?
Yeah, right?
What movie is that we talked about? You know what I'm talking about. The movie where the parents turn to pigs.
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, baby.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the NetEase founder found a bunch of people. He lured them away to his 4th piglet farm, fed them buffets, and now they're all actual people, and that's why they listen to their music, they clean themselves, and then he feeds those people.
It's wild.
He
gives them Wi-Fi.
Like, no wonder they need these human things because they're humans.
Yeah, honestly, it's so wild. Apparently, these are like specialized pigs too. They're called Jeju black pigs that have a unique taste to them. It's like, dude is just like coming through.
Really thinking.
Yeah. And apparently, the whole reason they're doubling down on this side hustle of theirs is because obviously the pork industry has been growing tremendously in China over the past few years, and they just finished a bout with the African swine flu. So the number of pigs severely decreased. So now homie's just coming through and be like, oh, well, you know, I can just fill that gap. You know, my special Jeju black pigs won't get the African swine flu.
Yeah, and making plenty of money doing so. I just love I love covering the Chinese news because all the stories we covered, they seem to go full circle in a sense or another of other stories we touch on. Yeah. It seems that a lot of these Chinese gaming companies are so tied to others in China. So I think it's very cool.
China's a relatively small country at the end of the day, so it's not surprising that all the bigwigs know each other.
Yeah, it's like Wang Sikong from Invictus Gaming, you know, one of the wealthiest billionaire sons in China. He has sued NetEase before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know which way it went, but it's so funny. I think at the end of the day, if this was EA or some company, we'd be freaking out. So
it'd be so weird.
And so, of course, we're going to freak out when these guys, they're geniuses. You know, they are really diversifying themselves to stay in gaming, hopefully, and doing a great job doing so.
Before we close this segment out, I want to read a quick quote from the CEO of NetEase. His name is Ding Lei. I don't know. I hope I pronounced that close to correct.
I think he actually goes by...
I saw some places say he was going William, but I couldn't verify that, so I didn't want to just throw it out there.
William.
Yeah. If you're out there, if you're listening, drop us a line. Let us know what to call you. Anyway, quote from him. He says, pigs at our production base use the toilets, sleep in apartments. They never take injections and medicines. In other words, their living habits are healthier than many people. Besides, they enjoy exclusive feed, which is provided by nutrition experts from home and abroad. I can say that the pigs are happier than pandas, except for the fact that they will be eaten by people.
Jesus, that's a freaking line.
Yeah, right?
Pigs are happier than pandas, but they'll be eaten by people.
Yeah, aside from this one asterisk that you add to the end of it.
Yo, Willie's a dog. China is crazy.
Right?
As per usual, though, we hope you guys all enjoy this episode of the Esports Rewind podcast. Zan, anything to closing statements? I know you got some.
Yeah, Yeah, you know, I like to do my housekeeping at the end of the podcast. So as always, do not forget, if you like to listen to the Esports Rewind and want to hear us on the go, so you're not just have YouTube open on your phone, you got the window, you're driving, you're getting distracted, don't do that.
Yeah.
Listen to the audio version of the podcast through the Prediction Esports Talk Show Network right here on the desk, PREEDICTION. If you want to go download the Esports Rewind there, it helps support the podcast. You know, we got some ads going there. Tons of other esports stuff there too to check out. If you're listening onto the audio version, thank you guys. Check us out on YouTube. We're at Esports Talk. We're on Twitter. Hit us up in the DMs. We had a big story last week actually that was from an insider
DM inspired.
Source. Yeah, DM inspired. People reach out. We always love it when you guys reach out.
As per usual, you guys can also check out the site as well on the YouTube channel where we just tire ourselves out every single week.
Yep.
But we really do enjoy you guys listening to the Esports Rewind podcast, same time every single week. Until then, take care of yourselves, guys, and thank you all for watching.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.